going to be a demonstration of Wispmon Pro 4.0, and we anticipate spending about an hour and 15 minutes on this recording. And what we're going to talk about this morning is we're going to talk about some of the features associated with Wispmon 4.0. As associated with that, I'm also going to show you the application, and I'm going to show you the navigation of the dashboard. I'm going to identify how you can do new customer qualifications and do work orders and trouble tickets. We'll talk about integration of your inventory and your IP management stuff. We'll also talk about other things such as billing and how you can handle billing in multiple different ways. What you see in front of you on the screen right now is the list of features, the recent list of features for Wispmon 4.0. One of the most recent features that we just added is the absolute latest feature is texting. So for example, because we know of the integration between all of your customers and your network and how all of that integrates together into the architecture that you call your network, because we know all of that information, if you lose a primary component, say for example you lose a router because the power supply goes bad or it gets hit by lightning or whatever the case might be, we will immediately know every customer that is affected by that particular service outage. Well, that plays into our hand several different ways. One, the first thing that we can do is we permit you to make a filter on your customers that are affected by that particular outage, and then you can type in a short text message to those customers, and if you hit the send button, it'll actually send within just a couple, 3 minutes the time that the outage occurs that you recognize that there is an outage on the network. You could even give them an anticipated return to service, and that they'll be notified when service actually returns to operation. The other advantage is assume for a moment that one of your customers doesn't actually get that text message. He or she might call in and say, hey, I'm off the internet. When you pull the customer page up, and I'll show you this here in just a few minutes, when you pull the customer page up, it will show in really big red letters at the top right-hand side, this customer is currently being affected by this particular service outage. So if you have a third party providing first level tier support for your customers, they will immediately see that page. They'll know that that customer is affected by that, and so the time from initiation of call to the time of completion of call hopefully would be less than 30 seconds, or hopefully maybe even less than that. Probably not. Those folks they're enthusiastic, but they will in fact be wanting to bill you based on that event. And so, but that'll keep them from spending 15 or 20 minutes trying to identify why that particular customer is out of service at that time. In addition, this program, and this is probably one of my favorite features, is that the program is fully responsive. That means that if you are out and about, you're in your truck, you're driving down the road, and you get a network notification that something has just failed in your network, you can actually pull your truck off the side of the road. You can open up your iPhone or your Droid, or you can open up your Verizon tablet that's connected to the internet, and you can actually bring the program up, and you can see immediately who's affected by that particular event, and you can do something about it proactively from remote locations. You don't have to be in the office to recognize that there's problems and be able to resolve some of those problems, at least with communications to your customers. The other advantage of this fully responsive design, let's say that your technician is standing in the driveway of a customer that he's getting ready to do an installation. He can pull the program up on his phone. He can look around and figure out what access point he's going to go back to. He can open the work order. He can drop down, pick the service that the customer is going to get. He can pick the access point. Once he picks the access point, it permits him to select an available IP address out of the IP address section on the work order. He can then go down and he can identify which piece of equipment is coming out of his truck. If the equipment is not listed on the inventory, he can just say equipment not listed. He can put in the MAC address, the serial number right off the side of the box. He can identify what it is, and then he can drop all the way down to the bottom of the work order, and he can hit the button that says pre-provision. So from that particular location, he will be able to pre-provision the network. He can go up on top. He can do the installation. He can take some pictures with his phone. He can run the cables into the house, plugs it in, and it's already set to operate for the service selection that he made while he was standing in the driveway. So if it's a 6x3 megabit per second type application, then there's already going to be 6x3 on the internet service when he plugs it into the computer inside the house. From there, if he wants to, he can complete the work order on his cell phone, and within 30 seconds, there will be a nice welcome letter in the inbox of the customer, as well as an invoice for the total installation, including basic installation charges, wireless routers, or any other components that you might have had the technician sell the customer at that time. So, all right, so I'm going to leave it at that. Let's just go look at this gets pretty dry if we just continue to look at features. Let's get into the program and have a look at the program. So I think this is it. Yes, this is it. So I'm going to just give you some basic general navigation. This is a cloud-based application. You have a username and a password. From the username and the password, you're able to log into the application, and again, you can log into the application on any device. You probably could even log into this application if your Frigidaire or refrigerator had a little CPU and a connection to the wireless internet. You probably could pull it up on that and look at your network while you're fixing your morning bagel and coffee. So, albeit, let's have some general navigation here. So, basically, any of the entry that you want to do in terms of searching databases, adding new customers, adding sales prospects, completing a work order, or creating a work order, or creating a trouble ticket, or identifying network issues, or identifying network connectivity that you want to monitor over historical performance, or if you're looking at inventory or reporting or calendaring, or other types of management perspective events, such as identifying how long will it be before a customer is considered to be late, or I need to redirect a customer because they haven't paid me. All of those functions are essentially listed in these little tabs over here on the left. Now, what's really cute, of course, is that this is in a responsive design, and it's using and sitting on the latest architectural software. So that gives me the opportunity to push a little button, and it goes away, and it makes it bigger. And now I've got all these cute little icons, and they're all got little names and stuff. But okay, that's fine. I'm enamored by some strange things. The dashboard is configurable based upon your user priorities. So, for example, you can have a user that's a technician, and he really doesn't need to be able to see financial information. So, when you set up the user roles for that particular function, you can identify which of the elements that this user or the application can actually see on his screen. So, for example, I've currently got an admin sitting here, and the screen is completely configurable. So I could grab this and I can move these things around. I can change their size. I can add additional components. I have a customer out of northern Canada who is currently running fiber, and he has 6 different fiber links showing real active live feed information from those fiber links. And so you can see that you can actually turn on live feed on the dashboard. And then I have office managers and owners that are particularly interested in financial functions. How many customers do I currently have? What's my customer accumulation rate? What's my customer churn rate look like? That information can be available instantly to the admin or the financial people. In addition, you can also see and you can identify different revenues, and you can break the revenues out based on access point, or you can show it based on towers. You can show it over a given period of time, or show it for today's activity, and so forth. Up here on the top right, you can see this is the month-to-date income, and again, you can change these to the different kinds of parameters that you want to see. In this particular case, we have $47,471 that's been received, and you can look and actually see which days of the month and how much money actually was received on those particular days. And then over here, you can see during the day, you can actually monitor how much is being received in check receipts. So as checks are being entered into the program, then this number just continuously clicks up and up and up. At the end of the day, you can click on the button. It will drop down. We have a standard deposit slip that you can use. So it'll show your cash receipts. It'll show your check receipts. It'll show you the total amounts. It'll have your routing and your routing and account numbers on the little deposit slip that goes in. It'll also have a major sheet that will go with that, and so the full descriptive sheet shows who, how much, when, where the bank went, and all those types of things, so that on a daily basis you can put check receipts and deposits into the bank. And then last but not least, over here on the far right side, it shows you credit card receipts. So as people are using the online portal to make one-time payments and so forth. It'll actually accumulate at this location. If you're collecting money during the day, it's the first of the month, you can actually see how much money you received during the day. And it will also maintain an update as the day goes by. Earlier I mentioned, and maybe I didn't mention it, but over here on the left-hand side, this tells me that I currently have, as this user, there are 2 alerts that I need to be concerned about. One of them, for example, could be some sort of communication from a CSR that somebody needs me to look at something, or the other types of things would be just-in-time reminders that we have only 5 CPEs left in the entire warehouse, and that we need to order some additional CPEs, and we can do that from this location. If I click on the little button, it'll actually, I don't think I have anything in here right now, but this is not really on a real live application. But you would be able to see tickets, you'd be able to see work orders. Yeah, I know, we're not connected, but that's fine. And once you looked at it, of course, it'll blue out and show that you've completed. If we keep going down through the application, what you'll discover is that we have additional information. So there are all kinds of different kinds of things that you can add to the dashboard, but these are currently known issues. And so these are trouble tickets that are currently sitting waiting to be responded to. So if I click on one of these trouble tickets, it'll actually take me to the trouble ticket. It'll show me all the notes associated with the trouble ticket. It'll also show me who it's been assigned to, what the severity level is. And we have an escalation application in the trouble ticketing system. So let's say we have some sweet grandmother that calls in and says, by the way, I can't get online, or it's slow or something. And it's a relatively low priority, so we assign it to someone to actually go take care of it. If that person fails to take care of that trouble ticket in a timely fashion, and the schedule on timely fashion is established in the management procedures, if he hasn't completed taking care of that, say, for example, in 48 hours, it actually changes the severity level and it escalates the escalation. So it takes it off of his plate, it increases the severity level, and it takes it to the next person in line. So by the end of the week, this poor grandmother that still can't get online is now being identified as a critical condition, and it's being escalated to the guy that owns the company. And so at some point, he's going to want to get involved, and he's going to say, okay, well, we see this escalation chain. Why wasn't this taken care of on Monday? We're now Friday, and it's not been taken care of. So that's the escalation associated with the trouble ticketing system. Over here on the right-hand side, and I've just selected one graph here, but there are multiple graphs. If you're a network guy, for example, you don't want to see all that financial information, but you would like to see the status of your network. So what it will do is, because all of the icons are actually real-time push, if you have an access point or a router or some sort of device that is not functioning properly, it will show up in different colors on this particular screen. But the screen that I currently have on here now is a work order screen, and the work order screen is associated with these particular work orders. So there are 3 unassigned work orders on this screen at the current time. If I lived over here on, I don't know, pick a road that's over here underneath this word, whatever that road is right there, then I might choose as a technician to go out and take care of this work order first, and then I could drive over here and take care of this work order next, and then I could drive over here and take care of this final work order. The reason that you can assign them as an unassigned work order, say, for example, if you were going to tell your prospective customers, people that are getting ready to sign up and have new installations scheduled, you can tell them that you need them to be there, just like the cable company does. We need you to be there. Someone needs to be on premises between 8 and 5. And so what that does is it permits you to have an open window, and it affords a creativity under assignment for your technicians. The other option is you can assign a specific date. So, for example, I've got a time, and I've identified the technician, and I've identified the address and so forth on this particular work order. And then last but not least, if you want to see what your event schedule looks like for the day, you can actually come down here and you can see the different events that are occurring. So when your customer service representatives are actually setting up schedules for the day, they can actually see an integrated schedule of all of the different technicians and everybody that's currently working on the application. Let me back this out a little bit. All right, so with all of that said, I want to I want to create a trouble ticket just because I want to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a trouble ticket at this location. And we have several different kinds of trouble tickets. I can assign a trouble ticket to a customer, I can assign a trouble ticket to a network item, or I can assign a trouble ticket to an asset. Now, you might ask yourself, what is an asset? Well, an asset is essentially the physical structure that holds, maintains, or supports any of your network infrastructure. So that would include towers, it would include network operating centers. If you're running fiber-type applications, then it would include the little box on the side of the road where you have some terminal locations. And the asset information, it identifies the name, the function, and it identifies the physical location on the map. So, for example, if I went back here and looked at the dashboard, once again, you can see that I have physical locations for each of these towers. And those are little tower sites with access points. The little green items that are surrounding those are actually access point directivities. So let me just zoom in here and I'll show those to you for a second. So for example, I have this tower, and this tower has 3 access points on it, and the little pie-shaped wedges are the direction in which the access points are actually pointed. And you can see that there are 3 of them here. This is actually a little Omni that's associated with that particular tower, and so forth. So let's go back to, again, the trouble ticketing. We're going to add a trouble ticket. The reason I'm adding a trouble ticket is I want to create a network outage so that when I go and look at some specific customer, let's make this I got to find a router. Let's make it the Rendon core. Okay, so I've got a router here, and it's a critical event, and this is a network component. Now, what you might notice here is that, first of all, this gave me the option of producing customers, networks, and assets. In this particular case, I chose network, but if I had chosen customers, then all of the different display screens would have been different. I will show that to you here in just a second. I picked a core router. The reason I picked a core router is because that's going to affect the greatest number of customers. Obviously, if I've got a core router that's down, then I've got a critical event condition, and then I get the checklist associated with the network component. These checklists are customizable, so that if you have somebody sitting on the phone and you have different technologies, you've got DSL, you've got fiber, you've got CMTS, and you've got some VoIP operating system, along with all of your wireless components, then what you can do is you can set up these different checklists just to verify that, or make sure that your customer service representatives are in fact checking all of the obvious stuff. Sometimes when the phone is ringing and everybody's going, crazy, then they don't know. I mean, you don't know if it's working or not. So what I would do is so I'm going to ping the device. In this case, the device fails to ping. I'm going to ping the upstream device, but that does ping. So what I've done is I've identified for myself for later notes that this device is down. A large number of calls associated. Does help to have the keys turned on. Large number of calls associated with this event. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and create that work order. It's going to save the data, create the work order, and now that will, in fact, if I go back and look on my dashboard, it should be assigned as a critical event under the known issues, and sure enough, there it is. The Rendon core is now down. It shows the date and the time, and it also shows that it's a critical event. All right, so with that in mind, I want to go back and I want to look at trouble ticketing one more time. I just want to show you a couple of items here. I'm just going to search one of these, and this time it's going to be a customer. I'm going to go ahead and put in a customer, and it'll identify who the customers are with those particular letters. If I had typed in John, it would have pulled up John Wayne. If you have multiple different customers with the same name, you can just keep typing until it finally identifies the customer that you're looking for. I'll pick John Wayne. This is it will identify which service plan John Wayne is having trouble with. So if he has 3 different service plans and he's only having trouble with one of the service plans, then you would select the service plan that he's having trouble with. This is a high-level event, and it is associated with a wireless connection. So notice that the checklist changed because I selected that this was a wireless. Did he power cycle? Yes, he power cycled. Can he ping the internet? No, he can't ping the internet. And again, this is just a demo. You would want to establish these kinds of checklists for your own purposes. And so I'll go ahead and create that event. So he's the first guy that called in on the Rendon Crowley event. We may or may not know that he's being affected by us, but, well, actually, it should have identified it at the top. Well, except I didn't pull him up. I went straight to trouble ticket. So let's just have a quick look at those settings on these trouble tickets. You can identify different kinds of events. So, for example, there's a cable event, a DSL event. I've got an email event. I have fiber events. So if I wanted to create a checklist for a fiber event, I can go over here and identify the checklist of events and just start adding them to this particular location. So, for example, here's the wireless event. Did you cycle the PPOE? Did you ping the internet? Can you ping the gateway? Is the ENS resolving? And all those types of events. Under escalation paths, we have numerous different kinds of escalation paths. And you can establish what the paths are, and you can establish how long it is before the escalation moves to the next level. And when you create one of these, actually what you're doing is you're identifying who is being informed that this particular escalation level has occurred. So now what I want to do is I want to go over here and I just want to do a quick search on a customer. I want to go find Mr. Wayne and let's see if he's actually assigned to this particular network component. I can't really remember whether he is or not, but we'll find out real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and load up the dashboard or the information here, and I'm just going to put in Wayne, and well, let's see, which one of these guys would be? This guy's on Carroll's Court. I don't know. I don't know why I have him in there twice, but that's all right. We'll look and see if he's affected by this outage. What I've done is I've clicked on the row, and it brings this guy up. So no, this guy's not affected by it. But while we're here, let me just go ahead and show you. Currently, he has no alert conditions. If he had been affected by the router that I just took offline, there would be an information box up here that says that Mr. Wayne is currently affected by this particular trouble ticket, and it would have been the trouble ticket. Let me back up and see if it's the other Wayne. It might be. And by the way, this application is designed so that if you hit the back button, it actually will take you to the previous pages, or you can hit the forward button and it'll take you to the forward pages as well. Let's just give this a try. I really cannot remember if either one of these guys is assigned to that particular component, but I thought they were. No, apparently not. Okay, so in the event that they had been, again, they would have been identified as having been associated with the trouble ticket that was just assigned to that core router element. If they, in addition, if they had any suspension activities or any of those types of things, you would be able to see those at this location. Okay. Okay, so where are we here? So let me just walk you around the customer profile page. If you have a picture of the customer, you can actually show the picture of the customer at this location. You can show what the status of the basic service is. This guy is currently suspended. He's suspended for non-payment. He's got a balance of $11.39. If he had a credit card on file, I could hit the pay balance button and it would make an attempt to collect that information. But what we have on the customer page is we have contact information at this location, and if you wanted to change that, you could click the little button, you could go in and make changes and come down here at the bottom and hit save. Same thing with all the rest of this. There's a billing function. Here's his customer portal. We provide you with a customer portal or a link to a customer portal so that you can put that on your web page. If the customer were to press the customer portal button on your web page, it would take him to an HTML5 version of the customer portal where he basically could change any of this information. He could change this information up here. He could do everything, including changing the expiration date on his credit card, making a one-time payment, printing either an invoice or a statement from that location. But this is how he gets into it. So this is the username and this is the password associated with that particular customer page or that particular customer and getting into that customer portal. If there were some additional billing options, you can see that we identify that this guy is a credit card payer and there's the expiration date on that credit card. Auto suspend is automatically enabled, but if you didn't want this guy, let's say he was in an important school or something, and you didn't want this guy to ever be suspended, you can actually go in and you can make that an adjustment on that. You can actually disable the auto suspension, and then you can go down to the bottom and you can save that. And so what that'll do is that'll make it so this particular customer will never receive a suspension, even if he might not have paid his bill on time. You can also see that this customer is enabled to receive text messaging on the customer portal. If they don't want to receive text messages, I don't know why they wouldn't, but if they didn't want to receive text messages, they could also disable the SMS messaging system. His invoice date is the 15th and his charge date is the 1st. If I go to the billing segment, as you would expect, you can see all of the invoices associated with this customer. This particular invoice is late. It was due on 8/11. It's open. It has not been paid. If it's in light pink, then that means that it has not been paid and it's still open. The color selection on this application currently is designed so that if you have people that are colorblind, the color selection is designed so that colorblind people can actually choose to use the application without being confused by the color selections, for the most part. And it comes off a color palette assigned to colorblind selections. If you want to change those colors, you can actually come over here, and this makes it pretty sexy if you put it on that. And on a Friday afternoon, after the whole work week is done and I'm really been drugged through the coals, then I might want to put it on something mellow and get myself a cold drink and get back to work. So, okay, so I'm just going to put it back on the colorblind stuff because I don't really know who might be and who isn't who's watching this video. Under statements, you can look at statements, and there's several different kinds of things you can do. You can print an account statement, you can print a billing statement, you can send a billing statement to a customer. And again, the customer can pull an invoice or a statement off of the customer portal. There probably really isn't any need, unless you are absolutely in dire straits, to send a paper invoice off of this application. And so here's all the different statements. This is all of the transactions associated with a subset of these transactions, and send that to the customer if I chose to. And then last but not least, you have billing transactions, and you can start, you can actually list them, or you can add a new transaction. So for example, what kinds of transactions can I add to a customer? Well, if I need to give him some credit, I can give him some miscellaneous credit. If I need to charge him for something, I can create a one-time charge, or I can make a check payment, or I can make a credit card payment, or I can do cash payments, credit card refunds. I also break this down so that you can actually make tax debits and tax credits, or you can do a charge-off. Basically, a charge-off is you have a customer that is no longer your concern. He's picked up and moved to Montana, and at that point, you need to get rid of any open invoice or any open balance so that he doesn't show up on additional accounts receivable payments, because you know you're not going to get the money out of him. So you can do a charge-off and get rid of him at that location. Coming back to customers, what I would like to do at this point, what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to go in and I'm going to say that we have someone call in and say, I would like to get service on your network. And so what you will do is you will go down here and you will do a customer sales and prospects, and you're going to add a sales prospect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in the name of the, this is Tim McGraw. And I'm going to pick an address, and I'm just going to put him on an address that I think I can get service on. If I put him on 3753 Carroll's Court. And that is in the city of Burleson. I can spell Burleson, B-U-R-L-E-S-O-N, and that's in this, well, I can almost spell it, Burleson, and that is in the state of Texas. I'm just going to hit 2 T's, and that'll bring the T's up at least. Try it again. Okay, I'll try it one more time. There we go. Texas, and that's 76140, and that is in the great country of the United States. And I'm going to go ahead and grab an email address. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but it just identified the location of that customer on the map. So I now know where he is, and I can see what his relationship is to all of the access points and the towers at that location. I'm going to give him TMCGRAW at countrymusic.com, .org. And then I'm going to pick up some phone numbers. I've got some little nomenclatures in here. I can see that this is a phone number. That's actually a contact number. And then over here, this is his cell phone number. That's going to be the SMS number that you want to grab. And then if he's got a work number that you want to transfer over, you can do that as well. I'm just going to click on this and put in, I'll just put in my phone number on all of these. If you ever need to call me, by the way, I'm available anytime. You are welcome to call me at this number, 817-829-7214, and we can certainly discuss putting your services on Wispmon 4.0. 817-829-7214. Okay, so then I'm going to roll down here, and I'm going to also identify that this was a word-of-mouth referral. I'm going to sneak on down a little bit further, and I'm going to identify that the status of this particular sales prospect is he is a prospect. He hasn't done anything. I haven't evaluated his location yet. I haven't done anything. He's not been installed yet. If I were to create a work order from this sales contact form, what it would do is actually, once that work order is created, it would move him automatically from prospect to installed. If I had created a site survey work order and I went out and I actually did a site survey and the work order failed, then it would automatically show him as a failed survey. It would put him in automatically that way. And when he showed up, when you did sales analysis on the screen, he will show up as a little triangle, and the sales prospects come up as red, failed surveys come up as purple, and installed actually comes up as little green ones. And so if you want to see of all of your sales contacts who failed, who failed a survey, who is currently outstanding waiting to get service, or somebody that failed a sales qualification, then you can see those based upon these colors. But again, I'm going to put him back on prospect, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now, generally, if there's something that it's missing, it will say, guess what, you are missing a piece of information that's critical for us to be able to make an evaluation of a particular customer. Now, I'm about to show you something that's really cool, and it just takes just a few minutes. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this guy around. I'm going to see if I can switch this to a hybrid view. Yes, I can. I love that. And I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to have a look at where this guy lives. Okay, so he lives right there. I can zoom in a little further. Okay, and notice that what it did is it actually qualified this guy to the street. Well, I'm not going to put services on the guy's street. I can see some homes here. I can either move it to that home, or I'm just going to move it out so it's a little easier. I'm going to edit this by using the map. And let's get over here. I'm going to edit using map. Thank you. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this guy over and put him on top of this building. Okay, so now he's on top of the building. I can zoom in, make sure that I've got him where I want him. Yeah, it's close enough. Right there in the corner of the building, that's probably where it gets. And so I now click when done, so I'm done with that. What it does is it locks in the longitude and latitude. I don't know if you noticed, but the longitude and latitude changed when I did that. And now what I can do is I can run a qualification on that guy. So he's on top of this metal building. It's probably 25 feet to the top of that building. And if I were to put a little stand, maybe a little 5-foot stand on there, I probably could get like 30, 35 feet out of the roof elevation. And so I'm now going to put 35 feet on the receive elevation. That's what RXELV means, receive elevation. I don't know, we got all this room, we should have written receive elevation on the top of that, but we didn't. And then what I do is I'm going to put this back on roads, or back on streets. Okay, so it's now back on streets. And I can see at this location what access points this guy is actually able to connect to. So let me show you what you see on the map here. I'm going to back this out just one step, and I'm going to show you what you have. So over here, these are towers, and what's coming off of each of those towers is an access point. And the colors are a little bit difficult to see the green one, but there's a green access point coming off of this tower, and it has an effective radius that looks like maybe 3 or 4 miles, and then it comes back on this side. These are 3 dB down points on that antenna. We know what the antenna is. We know what direction it's pointed. We know that this guy is sitting basically right down the throat of the antenna on that particular location. And then I have I have 2 other antennas that can provide service to this guy. This guy's coming off of this tower. Again, you can see the 3 dB points down on this antenna. And then last but not least, I have an antenna right here under this light purple shade, and it has a smaller effective radius, but it's also right down the azimuth of the antenna. So what do I have down here? If I look down here, what I have is this is that little CV1. That's the access point name. And over on the left-hand side here, this is the elevation of the tower above the ground. And then over on the right-hand side over here, this is the house where it sits. And I can see that the distance is about 1.65 miles, or maybe 1.7 miles. Now about 1.65 miles from the tower on the left to the house on the right. The red line is a line of sight graph. The blue line is the first Fresnel zone. Then the clutter, I'll just turn it on and turn it off so you can see where the clutter is. There's the clutter. And the clutter consists of things like, I don't know, things like trees and shrubs and water. Well, water is not very good clutter, but urban development, those types of things, build up roadways. And each access point has average numbers for 15 different clutter categories. So if you have a relatively large network where I'm going across half the state, on the east side of the state, it might look like the New Jersey shoreline where the trees are 80 feet tall. But on the west side of the network, you might be into shrublands in some part of Texas, and the tree elevations on average are different. We know what the trees are. We just don't know what their elevations are. So you can tell us the average height of 15 different kinds of trees and woodland forest and those types of things for each access point. So if I look at these graphs as a customer service representative, I can see that I probably can provide service to this customer off of this CV1 access point. On this particular access point, the DE05, I'm cutting into some shrubbery and stuff here, and I've got a little bit of penetration into my line of sight at that location. And then last but not least, this guy is actually penetrating and going through the ground. So if I'm running 2.4 or some sort of line of sight required frequency, then I would say, yes, I probably can provide service to this customer off the CV1. So from this location, I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I will, in fact, create a work order to come out, and we're going to come out and do an installation. So I'm going to go ahead and say this just one more time, just for the fun of it. I don't really need to, but I just did it anyhow. And then I'm going to click on work order, and we're going to create a new installation work order for this particular customer. Now notice that what it did was it automatically assumed, since we were doing a site survey and that kind of stuff on a sales contact form, that this was in fact a new installation work order. So it picked a new installation work order. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the people when they would like to have this new installation completed. So I'm going to go ahead and select the date, and we'll just go ahead and pick today's date. Might as well. We'll make a time on this, but we'll make this like 10 a.m. And then I need to pick the completion time. So again, the date is the 16th. I don't know why it does that. And then the time that we'll finish is probably like 11:30 or so. And I'll go down here to the bottom, and I'll save the event, and it'll actually show me that it's going to pop up on, oh, you know something, I didn't pick the person that's going to do it. Since I made the mistake of not showing it, I'll do it. So I'm going to identify that. It actually will show it on the calendar. And so now this event is scheduled. Notice that it automatically filled in the first portion of the work order with the name and the address, city, state, phone number, and all that kind of stuff. Let me just make sure that all of these are filled in that need to be, and they are. All the phone numbers are in, address is in. Now I'm going to go to billing. And so notice that none of this stuff is filled in on the billing stuff, but you would think that it would automatically fill there. Well, if I choose to automatically fill there, then I've got this little copy contact button, and you'll notice that it does, in fact, put everything in here. If I needed to change this to some sort of P.O. box, I can change that location, change the address for the billing information at this point. Now, since you're probably not going to be sending paper invoices, it probably doesn't make a whole lot of difference. But what does make a difference is we really do need to have that email address, because that's where we do all of our automated notifications. So when does somebody get automatically notified? Well, when I complete the installation, they're going to get an invoice, and it's going to go to that email address. They're going to get a nice welcome letter, and it's going to go to that email address. If they make a payment and the payment's good, they're going to get a receipt to that email address. If they don't make a payment, they're going to get a notification of late service, and then they're going to get a notification they're going to be suspended. Then they're going to get a notification that on the date that they're suspended that they're being redirected. So they get multiple notifications associated with this email address. So it's very important to put that in. The next thing is this program can handle multiple companies. So if you have different kinds of companies and you want them all to be in one billing system, then you can do that. As you notice, this particular application has 2 billing companies assigned to it. Those 2 billing, you guys are still with me, right?
I'm here, yep.
Okay, very good, because I just got a call. I just want to make sure I didn't I didn't want to cut you offline. So, by the way, if you have any questions, please, raise your hand and I'll call on you. Okay, so billing company, I'm just going to go ahead and pick, I don't know, let's put it back on Demco. Demco's good. Okay, so if the customer is tax exempt, and this customer says he is, but I don't know, like Tim McGraw at Century Music would be tax exempt. Maybe he's doing some sort of, I don't know, some sort of promotional or something. And so what I can do is I can identify how he is going to actually receive his billing statement. So I'm going to assign him an email statement. We're going to prorate the service. So we're going to do the installation today. Today's date is the 16th. We're going to prorate him between today's date and the 1st. That's when his first charge date is. And then on the 20th, he's going to receive another invoice on the 20th for the upcoming month. So he's going to, today, when we complete his work order, he's going to receive a welcome letter that says, thanks for being here. Here's your username and your password, and this is how you get onto the customer portal, just in case you need to print an email statement or print a billing statement or print an invoice, or if you need to make changes. And those nice introductory welcome letters can be written by you. They are in standard HTML format. You write them, and the program sends them. And we only have one place to put them in. You can modify them, adjust them, whatever the case might be. But we strongly recommend that you give as much information to the customer as you can in a nice welcome letter. Okay, and then on the charge, so on the 20th, he's going to receive another invoice, and it's going to be for the upcoming month. And so he will, if he has a credit card on file, it'll actually be charged on the 1st. If he doesn't, he has a check that is expected to be received for the service for next month that will be received on or before the 1st. I can give the guy let's see. I can give him a username and a password. Okay, and then if he has a credit card and you're going to take it, you might as well go ahead and take it while you got the customer online. You can put the credit card in here. And as you notice, there's an invalid card number. If I were to put an invalid card number in there, this thing has an automatic lookup system using the algorithms that are provided by Visa and MasterCard and all the other guys. If the credit card number is not in compliance with the algorithms, then it'll say that the card that you just entered may have a bad number on it, or you've misentered it improperly. And so you also need to put in a date, an execution date, or an expiration date, an expiration date, and then some sort of security notification. If it's an electronic check instead, it changes the form. You get an ABA routing number and a check account number. Or if the guy's just going to be on cash check, then we're just going to leave this guy on cash check. Last but not least, we're going to go, before we complete this, before we submit this work order, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the service plan that this guy is going to get. So, for example, this guy is going to get it's a business basic service 3. And if he has some sort of recurring discount, so for example, that's normally, I don't know, $150 a month. If this guy tells you he's going to do it for some particular charity, you might want to give him $25 recurring discount every month. And so that's your little contribution to the effort. And last but not least, if you have some sort of promotion, for example, I got a promotion, first month free, I can include that. The promotion set and systems are set up down under the admin. And so what I have is I have some sort of promotion. And at that point, that's basically all I have to do to this particular work order. When the technician receives this, and let's see, we've already picked the date, we've already gone through the contact stuff, we've already gone through the billing stuff. I'm going to go down here, and we've already selected the type of plan that he's going to get. I'll just go ahead and save it. And, well, you know something? I hope it saves. Come on, save for me. I've missed something someplace. The date and the time's right. Contact information. Okay, apartment. We can give an apartment number. See if that makes a difference. Okay, I missed something. Billing. Yeah. Oh, country. I don't know why it didn't identify why the country wasn't selected. It should have automatically defaulted to that country on this address. But I'll have somebody look at that. So, okay, so now I think that's it. So I'll hit save. And did I lose internet service? I don't think so. Did I miss something else? United States. Okay. Payment type. Plan. There we go. I'm going to have somebody look at that. It should have told me that I had to, in fact, identify what the service type was. I'll have somebody look at that, and we'll get that modified so that it throws an error on the kind of things. For example, there were a couple of things there that it should have thrown an error on. First of all, it should have told me I hadn't picked a country, and it should have actually probably fill that in with the United States in almost every instance. And the second thing is that because it didn't know what the service plan type was, it should have thrown an error on that as well. So, okay. So now this is work order number 60. I'm actually going to go back to the dashboard, and we'll just look and see whether or not work order number 60 actually showed up over here. It should have. So there's number 60. Now there's a couple different ways to get to this location. So for example, if I am the technician going to go out there and do the work, what I would do at this point, I know that I'm going to be out there, I'm going to do the work. I would actually go out, and on my iPhone, I would open up this application. Well, when I open the application, it actually scales. So it'll actually come down to where he can see everything that he needs to see on an iPhone size. Or if he has a tablet or something that's got internet connection, he could sign up on that. So what I would do is, if I was he, I would get there, I'd knock on the door, I'd make sure everything is cool with the customer. Then I would come outside, I'd take my equipment out of my truck, and then I would figure out what access point I'm going to go to at that location. I would either do that up on the roof or whatever the case might be. I might even drag all that stuff up on the roof with me. And then I would figure out what the access point is going to be, and I would open up my application, and I would pull up this work order just by clicking over here. And there's several different ways to get to the work order. I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going to search for a work order. And so I would pull up the work order. And so this work order is number 60, and it's for Tim McGraw. And so here's the work order. So now, when I've got this work order on my phone, what I actually see is this. So here's this really nice work order, very simple to see. Everything is scalable. I can see it. It's on my phone. And so I would just open it up to the technical side. I'm going to open this back up so it's easier for us to see. But I would open up the device to the technical issue, and then I would select this. It's going to be wireless, and the affiliation is going to be with the company that we just identified. It actually only gives me one choice at this point. I'm going to select a site, so I'm going to go and let's see, from that location, I'm probably going to come off Rendon. And then I would choose a sector. In this case, it would be probably VE05. It automatically fills in the router IP address. If there was a color on this thing, it would fill that in. And let me see if I've got, okay, so I've got some IP addresses that I can select from. And again, remember, he's doing this on his phone, right? So he's picking the IP address from his phone. So I'm going to just pick that IP address. The advantage of the IP management system is it knows what IPs can be assigned at that location, which ones have already been assigned, which ones are available. So if I have some sort of static or other public, I can select that at this point. In this case, I don't have to. If there was a static block and the guy's buying a static block, then actually that would show up. And I'll just go ahead and what the heck, I'll just pick one at the top of the list. So we'll just give him that one. Okay, and then under subnet, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I do have a question regarding IPs. So the IP block that was, or the IP blocks rather, that are listed, those are limited down to only the IP blocks that are available for that sector?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not seeing the whole subnet. That's just what you have configured.
No, heavens no. No.
Okay.
Only the ones that are available for that particular component. Right.
And when you
Absolutely
say available,
right.
You mean not already assigned to a customer?
Have not been assigned. Right. So so the advantage here, of course, is that you don't duplicate assign IP addresses. I hate to tell you how many times I've done that, and I've spent weeks trying to get a customer, trying to figure out why a customer is not getting support, or getting internet service the way they should be. And of course, what it's doing is it's confusing the transmission, and who knows where it's going, right? So that's the advantage.
So question on the subnet there, is that subnet also derived from when you originally added the IPs to the sector itself? So I see the subnet's listing as a class C. If, for instance, we had a /25, would it list that subnet appropriately when selecting an IP from that class? Because in some cases, we'll have multiple subnets per AP. Yes, and so it would have limited that to a /25 in this drop-down that's associated with it. But when you select the IP, it would auto-update the subnet to be the /25 rather than the /24? I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say that this program is so new that I really don't know the answer to that question. Okay. So let me write the only reason that this is important is because, in the event you're deploying a device, an improper subnet mask is just as painful as an incorrect IP. Okay, so let me just write this down. Does it put the proper subnet mask into the work order? When filling out a new install work order? Very good question. I will get you an answer back on that. If it doesn't, it should. I know that the guys that wrote the IP elements on this spent weeks upon weeks understanding the concepts of IP management and all that type of stuff. They went through a whole host of different kinds of programs, looked at how other people did things, and then they modified it to meet our objectives. But I will get you an answer back on that, and I will post that along with this afterwards. Okay. Additional question is regarding the gateway IP. Then I see that that's not already filled out after you've made a drop-down selection. Correct. It is not, but it probably should be. I think that, once we enter that information once in a database, we wouldn't want installers to have to guess at those variables, because an IP gateway is definitely not always .1. In most cases, especially with smaller subnets, it's going to be, whatever IP is assigned to the router, and that's /28 or 29 or whatever. Yes, sir. And you're absolutely right. What I will do is I will get a response. I'm not really the IP technical expert that the guys are that wrote this, and I will get a complete response on IP. In fact, what I'll do is I'll get a complete response and some additional training so that I can answer those questions more effectively in the future. So, great. Okay, and then last but not least, if I'm looking for a particular CPE, I can identify. If it's not here, actually, it permits me to choose one or put one in, but I'm going to see if I can find something that looks like. Yeah, we'll just take that one right there. Okay, so what I've done is I'm standing on the roof, and I've just completed this. And what I do is I hit this pre-provision button now at the bottom of the screen. What that does is that logs into the network and configures the network to be able to provide the bandwidth shaping associated with the service plan that we had selected back over here. So, clever. Okay, so now it's going to do what it's supposed to do. Go back to the technical stuff. I hit pre-provision, and it will in fact set that up so that it's associated with the plan that we have picked up at this point. So he gets up there, he completes the installation, drops the cables down, runs them through the attic, drills some holes, brings them in through an interior wall, puts on a nice little faceplate. And while he's doing all of this, he's taking pictures of all of these events. He took some pictures downrange from where the antenna is pointed. He
anywhere he's drilled a hole in the house, he's taken a picture of that. If he's put a nice face plate onto the interior wall, he takes a plate of that. If he runs it into a router, he can take a picture of that. Basically, any pictures that he wants to take, he can put those on his phone. And then he gets down, he plugs it into the computer, and the computer is fully operational. And what he does is he goes ahead and he completes this application or this work order. He can do that if he has some additional information that he needs to add. So, for example, he did a basic installation, so he needs to add a basic installation, quantity 1. And if he needs to add something else, he can add that as well. So there's the basic installation. He had a cable expense. You're supposed to get the first 80 feet of cable for free. He used 125 feet, so that's 45 feet of cable. He can put that in there. And if he sold him a wireless router or something, he can add that as well.
So does that support both recurring monthly expenses and fixed one-time?
Yes, absolutely. So let me just make sure I didn't, I think I hit remove instead of add. Okay, so there's the basic installation. I wanted to put a cable expense in there for 45 feet. Pay attention, Bob, pay attention. Okay, 45 feet, and then I want to add one more. He bought a wireless router or something. Let's see if I've got a wireless router listed. I do. Okay, so he bought one wireless router. Okay, so that's the plan. So what this does is, that was an excellent question. So yes, this handles one-time expenses. It also handles recurring billing. And the recurring billing that it handles, it'll handle anything on any basic level of months. So 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. It'll handle 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. It also has hotspot capability, so it will be able to handle down to the hours and days and weeks. And so if you're setting up a hotspot someplace, say some sort of event, this program will be able to push out a display page, some sort of splash page. They can put in their names and their credit card numbers, and they can select the plan that they want, and they can push that. And then what that does is it can either shut down that service based on time, or it can shut down that service based on total transit. So you can see the advantage of being able to shut that service plan off based on both of those events.
I do have one clarification question.
Yes,
back when you added the MAC address for the CPE,
Yeah.
you said something about you being able to select it from a list or just typing it in? So, I mean, is that correct? Can you just type a MAC address right in that box?
Yes, you actually can. Yes, you can.
Okay, because that's really helpful. I mean, sometimes you'll find out there's an inventory discrepancy, and the last place you want to spend an extra 30 minutes fixing your inventory is in the customer's living room.
Right, and you really don't want to be able, and so for example, let's say that I've got a company and they haven't given me their entire inventory list yet. They're just now beginning, getting turned on to this application, and they don't know what's in the guy's trucks. They haven't gone out there and bar scanned the things to figure out what's in there. So the guy gets out in the field and he doesn't have it in place where he needs to be using it. All he has to do is pull it up. There's only 3 things you need. As he starts to describe it, it'll automatically fill with a description. So if you already have, this many nanostations, it'll identify that it's a nanostation as soon as you start typing it in. Then it'll ask for the MAC address and the serial number if you got it. And at that point, he's ready to go. He's already put it into place. Okay, and I need to put you on hold for just 10 seconds.
No problem.
Okay, so let's see. With that information, what else do I need? I think, okay, so you pre-provision it if you choose to. We're not actually connected to anything on this particular application, and so I can't really hit the pre-provision button to show you what that does. But essentially what we have done is we've essentially completed the work order at this point. If there are any additional things that you want to do, so for example, if you're on your phone and you want to upload all the pictures that you just took, you can upload the pictures directly from your phone, and it'll just put them in one, boom, 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 all the way down. And then what we want to do at this point is just one more time, just review everything, make sure that it looks right, make sure the billing is right, the addresses are right, make sure that it's got the country in it like it didn't have before, and then put the prorate button on and click the payment type. And again, an ounce of prevention here will save a lot of headache later on. This is he's got a, we could actually give him a promotion. I'm not going to do that now. Basic services, basic installation, cable expense. numbers are right, let's go look at the tech stuff. Okay, so this is a wireless installation. It's coming off of this location. CPE IP address is correct. Static IP addresses are correct. All of those things have been filled in as is required. We've taken the pictures and everything we need, and so we're going to go ahead and complete the work order. So what that's going to do is it's going to save all the data, and it's going to ask us a couple more questions before we get finished here. So this was a successful installation, and if you want to baseline it at this point, because we still haven't completed the work order, but it's already configured. If you want to baseline the installation, for example, what's the received signal strength? I don't know. It could be neg 56. What was the time to ping the internet? It could be 3 milliseconds. Ping the gateway, it could be 5 milliseconds. If you're doing an uplink speed test, it was 6 megabit per second. These are free forms, by the way, so you can basically put in here anything that you want to. The installation type was, and these are all defaults, by the way. You have a default location. If your installation type isn't here, what we'll do is we'll just add it to the defaults, which is over here under the admin stuff. This was a tripod roof mount. The CPE condition was new. And if you have any installation notes, you can identify them here. You can now say, for example, bad dog in the backyard. Okay, named Peaches. Okay, and then this is the agreement. This is the terms of services agreement that the customer has. And if you want to, you can actually click on the sign button, and the customer on your phone can use their finger and they can sign the services agreement. So now what you have is we have a document control center that will keep automated records for those types of things, and now I hit finish. When I hit finish, this page, okay. Well, I just gave it the customer signature, okay, so finish. Okay, great. So apparently it doesn't like, oh, just stop showing me then. Try it one more time. Maybe it didn't like the way I signed. That's all you got. Save. Yeah, I didn't like something there, but that's all right. Doesn't really matter. I'll come back and look at that. It's got something to do with probably the scripts. We're trying to push scripts out to something, and it didn't like it. I had actually picked an access point, and it was probably trying to fire scripts, and it couldn't find it, and it just got complaining about it. So whatever the case, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so what I want to do is I just want to show you just a few more things here. So we've basically looked at customers, sales and prospects, and we've gone and we found customers and plans. Ticketing, we've talked about ticketing. We can search and we can add and we can look at the different settings on ticketing. Work orders, again, same sort of scenario. If you have some additional information that you want to set up for work orders, basic settings, for example, if you pick the company, then you can identify for that company what the basic default settings are on the work order. So and if you have a new agreement, you can actually save that here. And then if you have different ones, you can save those as well in the same place. And so that's where you get the different settings on the different work orders. Under network components, we can map the network components. And you can see where all the elements are. You can also run a variety of different kinds of other tools. You can do site-to-site calculations or site-to-site, site-to-point calculations. You can look at point-to-point type access. Or you can use basic fields to look, if you're looking for basic line of sight graphs between towers, you can see what those look like, or site to point. You can also manage your network at this location. So if you want to add a device to your network, you can add the device at this location, give it usernames and passwords. identify what the upstream devices are and what the management IP addresses are. I can actually look at complete lists of my devices, so if I'm looking for particular pieces of equipment, I can find them. And if I need to, I can edit and modify them at this location. This is your tower information, so if you're just looking for all of your different towers, you can find where your towers are. This is basic information. You can just type things in to find where they are. And IP management, again, same sort of thing. What I need to do is actually create an entire video on IP management because I didn't write it and I'm not very versed with it, but it has some significant capabilities. That's at least what I've been told. And so I will do that. In fact, I will have them create a nice little video on IP management so that I can share that with you as well. And then last but not least, you can add and search OIDs for specific components, and then you can run and look at the historical performance. Under inventory, you can add inventory. You can add vendors to these. You can also set JIT times on your inventory. You can identify where the inventory is located. If you're going to bring inventory in, you can actually, say for example, you bought 5 of the same sort of CPE. You can actually bring the CPE into the inventory, and you can indicate that you have 5 pieces. So what it'll do is it'll make you fill out the basic information on the first one, and then put in the MAC address, and then you hit next, and it'll just make you put in the serial number and the MAC address on the second one, and serial number and the MAC address on the third one. This does work with barcoding, barcode scanners that are attached to PCs. Last but not least, of course, you've got vendors, and you can add vendor contact information, phone information, and you can edit and modify those. Under reporting, we have standard sorts of reports, and those reports include, for example, financial reports, and there's a whole host of financial reports, open invoices, all invoices, total amounts billed, aging summaries, sales tax charge, USF fees paid. If there is a report that you need, and it's not in this list, just tell us what it looks like, and we will create that report. You have several different options on printing these reports. You can print them and save them as PDF, or you can print them and save them as Excel spreadsheets, so that if you want to do some manipulation and some management associated with just the real data entry, then you can do that as well. Under customers, same sort of thing. We have a whole list of different kinds of customer reports, active customers, hotspot users, and again, same deal. If you need some specific kinds of customer reports that's not there, then we can provide those for you. If we decide that we like those reports so much, we'll put them in for everybody. And then again, you have inventory reports that you can provide as well. And if we give you some basic, some customized reports, those will show up under a different list. They'll show up under customized. And then last but not least, we have some calendaring associated. You can see the calendars, and you can actually click on these devices doing them. And under admin, you can take, the admin does a variety of things. First of all, you can set billing settings, and those are the things that I was talking about. How many days before a customer is considered to be late, how soon before that customer is going to receive a notification that their services are going to be redirected in a couple of days, and then what the emails look like for all those types of things. Let me just click on that, and I'll show you, see if there's anything else here. So if this is just basic company information, this is billing information. So for example, if you are doing metered billing and you want to send out notifications at 50%, 80%, and 100% of total transit usage during the billing period, that's where you would set this up. If you have some additional fees, for example, invoicing fees, check processing fees, credit card processing fees, if you want to charge a late fee and how many days before it's due, or if you're doing VoIP and you want to collect USF fees, you can do that at this location as well. Last but not least, on this particular setting, you can identify your suspension stuff. So this is suspension and redirect for businesses, and this is suspension and redirect for residential services. So this is 10 days before suspension. This is 17 days before suspension. There's direct reconnect fees on each one of those, and you can set those up and save those at this location. If you're taking some payments, say for example, you're getting like a half a dozen checks in, you can take a new payment. You can identify that it's a check payment. You can identify the customer and select the customer from the customer list. You can put in the amount. You can put in the check thing, the posting date, pick the posting date, then you can put in the check number, and if there's an account code assignment to that, you can put in a check payment, and then if there's some sort of information you want to add to that, you can do that there, and then you can add a new payment, and it'll actually add the new payment, and you can put in the new payment. So you can put in multiple payments before you actually finally have to save them all to the register. Taxes, we have a very strong tax engine. We can do basically taxes on internet services in the 6 states that require tax collection, including Texas. The first $25 of internet service in Texas are tax-free, and so we can provide that ability on our tax engine. Also, I've got a company in Arkansas. They have to collect taxes based on every city, every county, whether they're in the county, whether they're in the city and the state, and we do that for like 45 different counties and cities. And so we can collect that and provide service reporting on that as well. And again, that's under taxes. We have a promotion section. If you want to write a promotion, say for example, you want a promotion where you give 50% off of the service plan for the first 3 months, you can write that promotion in here. And when you do the work order, you can actually assign the promotion to the work order, and it will automatically fill that in for you. System settings, these are basic system settings, including, for example, email notifications. Who gets email notifications on different kinds of events? So if there's a trouble ticket that's created, who gets the email notification? And it can be a distribution, or you can just put commas in here and add anybody you want to. Work order emails gets obviously sent to the technician, but it would also get sent to whatever distribution, whoever's keeping records on that. This shows the map center, so when you have different map settings. Email configuration. All of our network communications require an email setting, and we actually push those settings out through your email server. And then there's some additional information here. We've got, if you're going to use the SMS application, we are actually using Trilio, and you have to create an account with Trilio, and they give you an SMS token and an SMS number that'll push it through. And I believe that Trilio charges anywhere between like 0.5 or 0.7 cents per SMS message. And then let's see, we have some default stuff, and these are just default settings. So for example, if you have multiple companies, they'll show up in these default lists. If you have different kinds of installation types, they'll be located here. If you have reasons for closure, those closure reasons will show up over here. And then if you have different kinds of referral types, you're creating a new, I don't know, let's say you want to create some sort of advertisement and you want to keep track of everybody that comes in on that advertisement, you know, something in the mail, then that comes in at this location. Provisioning. Let's see, these are the different kinds of things that we provision for. So we're able to communicate essentially with anybody's information, but here are the different kinds of scripts. So for example, if you are creating an email account, we can push that out. If you have some sort of a simple queue, we can push that out as well. Actually, I believe that these are probably ones that we've already written. Yes, these. So you can see that this is just a script for adding a user to a microtick. And oh, I'm sorry, those are the event scripts. I clicked on event scripts instead of events. So anything that you can translate data to using either an SSL or an HTTP post, we can write the scripts necessary to do that. We have hundreds of different scripts written for microticks and a variety of other equipment, and so we can provide assistance to you on that. These are the different kinds of events that we actually can push to. So for example, when an installation is complete, we can do a variety, or in this particular case, when you pre-configure a work order for a new installation, it actually fires the event scripts associated with that event. MAC address changes, second MAC address changes, creating email accounts, changing passwords, uploading usage data, or actually usage exceeded. So if you're doing metered billing and you're collecting data on the metered billing off the Radius server, which we're collecting for you, then what we would do is once they reached 50%, 80%, and 100%, we would send them a notice, an email notice. But once it's reached or exceeded that level, there's a whole host of things you can do. One, you can reduce their speed, you can increase their speed, you can do nothing. But in any case, what we're going to do is definitely send them an email showing that their usage has been exceeded. And again, we have 3 different levels on that, either upload, download, or total aggregate. Other IP changes can occur as well, hotspot lapse, hotspot renews, those types of things are events that can be provisioned. And then last but not least, we have different roles and so forth associated under admin. So you can see the different kinds of users that are located. And if you have little pictures, you can actually put little pictures in there. It's kind of cute, but pretty worthless. But I'm sorry. That's probably one of the most important features of the entire add edit users button. If you have a large organization, you probably do want to know what those users look like. If you've got 55 different installers and you're covering half the state of Wisconsin, then you probably do want to know what those customers look like. So, and then last but not least, we have some sales group stuff, and we actually have a sales group marketing application that fits in this as well. So that's about it. Let's ask if there are any questions. And would you like me to stop the recording at this point?
Yeah, you can if you'd like.
The last thing that I wanted to discuss in this demonstration is service plan construction and the advantages of the service plan design that we currently have. So for example, in order to find service plans in the service plan edition or editions, you come in and you click on billing plans. And we have basically 2 different kinds of plans. We have plans that are recurring internet provision sort of plans, or we have plans that are for just non-recurring events. So we have internet service plans. We have other non-internet recurring plans, for example, like an email plan or perhaps an equipment lease, those types of things. And then we have non-recurring plans similar to, say, for example, a basic installation, or perhaps if you are selling a wireless router or something like that. So what I want to do is I want to have a look at internet plans. I'm just going to click on internet plans. And as part of this internet plan, I'm just going to pick one of these. I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So here's a residential family service 2. I just click on the row. And what we see is this is the plan name. This is basically what drops down in your customer service representative's drop-down list. This is the type of plan that it is. This is a residential plan. You have 2 options, residential and business, and those selections are necessary for the FCC 477 forms. This is an active plan. It can be a hotspot plan. The rate currently is $59.95, and you can see that this is on a monthly basis. The term, there's an early termination on this, and in terms of months, if you have an early termination, for example, you could put in 24-month early termination with an early termination fee of, let's say, $240, and you could put that on prorate. So if they get halfway through that termination period, then they'll get half of that money back. There are a variety of different tax groups. You can assign taxes associated to a service plan in places like Texas. That's an important ability to do that. The plan is taxable, and there are 2 taxes that are actually assigned in this application. One of them is assigned directly to the customer. So if he buys something like a wireless router or some piece of hardware, then he's assigned that tax group. If he is buying internet service, then the taxes associated with this tax group override his hardware sales tax and applies this to his service. You can keep some different kinds of accounting codes in here. So for example, if you are recording this on your accounting system, you can put in a chart of accounts GL ledger number. And then this is the upload and download speeds of the plan. These are important because these speeds are actually used by the scripts. So when we configure a service plan using all of the automated scripts, it actually grabs these speeds and inserts that into your network. This is scripting, and the scripting is run off the provision engine. There's a provision engine over here someplace. I got to remember where it's at. Probably here. Yeah, so there's a provisioning engine in here, and you can add different kinds of SSL, HTTP post type provisioning. And then what you do is you add those provision elements to the service plan themselves. So, for example, you can see in this case, this plan open has an add MikroTik user provisioning script. I'll show that to you here in just a second. And then last but not least, you get to select the FCC 477 technology type. And those reports are due, as you probably know, every 6 months. And then if you are doing metered billing, we can also identify metered billing elements here. So this is a download, this is an upload, this is an up-down limited metered billing plan. And then for any additional service, in this case, you get an additional 10 gig, and you get that for $9.95. Once you've exceeded these two limits, then these additional rate things go into effect. As you near the end of the rate limiting during the billing period, the transit actually generates 2 or 3 different notifications, one at 50%, one at 8%, one at 100%. So that's basically it. I just wanted to show you that provisioning engine stuff over here for a second. These are the different kinds of events that will result in an event script being fired. So for example, an installation complete, if you're changing a MAC address, if you're changing an IP address or those types of things, that will fire a provisioning script. And then if you look at the different provisioning events, you can identify what the event was. So for example, here's a microtik. I'm going to add a microtik user to a customer. It's going to use the customer credentials. It's going to use an SSL, and it's going to push that script in a command line out to the routers that are affected by this particular customer. So, well, that's basically it. If you have any questions, give us a call. My name is Robert Olive. My phone number is 817-829-7214. Again, my phone number is 817-829-7214. If you have any questions or additional comments or whatever, if you need to see additional information, please call me at that number. My email address is rolive@wispmon.com. You are welcome to email me or call me anytime. Thank you so much. Appreciate you sitting through the demo, and I wish you well. Thank you.